Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into the life and work of a truly fascinating figure in Nepali history and literature, Ramhari Joshi.
Mm-hmm. And our main source is this article looking back at his life and contributions, timed for his 100th anniversary, remembering Ramhari Joshi and his works.
Exactly. It seems like a really rich source, connecting his personal life, his politics, his writing.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground.
So our mission, really, is to pull out the key insights from this article. We want to understand, who was Ramhari Joshi? Why are his writings so important?
And what about this legacy of integrity everyone talks about? Why does that still matter today?
Right. It's like using the article as our guide to get the essential story.
Okay, sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, the article kicks off strong, calling him a man of integrity, Gautam Deklariji Joshi in Nepali.
That label really sets the stage, doesn't it? It introduces him first as a founder-leader of the Nepali Congress, but immediately flags him as this symbol of integrity.
And the description of him really backs that up. A follower of Mahatma Gandhi, committed to nonviolence, peace.
You get a real sense of that. The article mentions his simple style, cotton shirt, trousers, black glasses, brown coat.
Kind of like St. Christopher Prasad Bodarai.
Yeah.
It says that idea of sacrifice and simplicity.
Exactly. It wasn't just for show, it seems.
The article gives us the basic facts, too. Born January 4, 1928 in Malangwa, Sarli.
Though his family was originally from Lotluka, right? They moved.
Yeah, and his education. It started at home, then high school over in Siddhamari, India, matriculated in 42.
Then university in India too, Banaras Hindu University, Calcutta University for science degrees.
And later an MA in English, lit from Calcutta as well, in 57.
But what really stands out, and the article emphasizes this, is his teaching career running alongside all this.
Oh, yeah.
Started teaching around 1953, 1954, and was headmaster at the public high school in Sarlihi for, get this, 37 years.
Wow, 37 years. That's a serious commitment. Shows a real dedication beyond just the political sphere.
Absolutely. Deep roots in education and his local community.
Okay, so we have this picture of a principled educator, deeply involved locally. How does the article connect this to his writing, his role as a chronicler?
Well, that's where his experiences and principles really come together. The article spends quite a bit of time on his key books, starting with Nepal's November Revolution.
Right, the source calls it an important historical document.
And the fact that it just had a third edition published in 2023-24 by the Ramhari Joshi Pratishthan, well, that says something about its lasting value.
Definitely. And the title refers to the Nepali Congress's armed revolution in November 1950.
Precisely. But what's interesting is how the article highlights Joshi's perspective within the book. He apparently points to King Tribhuvan's declaration, the one promising a democratic government, a constitution from an elected assembly, as the single biggest achievement.
So not just the revolution itself, but that specific political outcome.
That seems to be the emphasis Joshi makes, according to the source. He also covers the Jan Kranti, the popular uprising in Kathmandu on November 10th, 1950.
But it wasn't just Kathmandu, was it? The article says the book looks west, too.
It does. It mentions specifics, like the first anti-Rana rally in Baglung, led by Prasad Gauchan and others, Chandraman Sherchan, Mekmar.
So naming names, recording those regional efforts?
Exactly. And the capture of Palpa, Rudra Shamshar, being made military administrator there, it shows he's documenting the revolution on different fronts.
And the lead up to Padma Shamshar's reforms, the 46 movement.
Yeah, he analyzes that as well. But the article adds a key detail. Joshi himself called this book a memoir mixed with memories.
So it's history, but with that personal first-hand layer.
Right. Then there's another major work discussed, Nepal's Eternal Martyrs.
Isma-san, published more recently, 2022 or 2023.
And the description here is quite striking. The article calls it a living presentation, like the martyr souls are speaking through the book. Very vivid.
It covers the famous four, of course, Shukra Shastri, Dharma Bhaktamatma, Gangalal Shrestha, Darslas Chand.
But the article notes he also includes Thirbam Malla and Pogendraman Singh, expanding the list a bit.
What's the article's take on this book's significance?
It's pretty strong. It suggests a book this reliable and vivid about the martyrs and that whole revolutionary period. While it might not be written again, high praise for its unique contribution.
Okay, so he's documenting history, the revolution, the sacrifices, but he also looked inward, right? At his own life, his party.
Exactly. That brings us to his more personal and analytical works, like his autobiography and memories connected with Nepali Congress.
He, he was amazing. And there's a quote the article highlights from the intro. It really stands out.
Which one is that?
Criticism of anything and anyone can be done. That is easy to do. But to do work is difficult. The government is certainly responsible for whether work happens as the public expects or not.
Wow, that's quite pointed and very relevant, you could say.
Definitely. The article says this book covers, like, 6 decades of the Nepali Congress's journey, the highs, the lows, the achievements, and importantly, the shortcomings.
And it has those specific, almost behind-the-scenes stories, like the one about Nehru.
Oh, yeah, when Congress leaders asked him to push for BP Koirala's release from jail, and Nehru apparently said, quite bluntly, I can never do such a thing.
That kind of detail really adds color to the political history, doesn't it?
It does. The book also touches on other key moments, the return of Kadwa, the rise of anti-India feelings in the 50s, the Bharatnagar jute mill strike.
And later events, too, like the 1980 referendum, the 85 Satyagraha, the 90 People's Movement, events he lived through.
And speaking of shortcomings, remember that integrity theme. The article points out that in this autobiography, on page 251 apparently, he admits the Congress government made mistakes, calls it irresponsibility during their 1991-94 term.
Acknowledging errors in his own memoir, that takes some guts. It fits that integrity picture.
So the article suggests the book's purpose was partly that, to encourage self-reflection within the party.
Yeah, self-criticism among the leadership and a call for new thinking during times of change.
So what makes this book so valuable, according to the source? Why should people, especially maybe Congress supporters, read it?
Well, the article argues it gives you the internal story. It lets you compare the Congress of the past with the Congress of today, especially how BP Koirala's ideas, democracy, socialism, nationalism are seen now versus then. It calls it a must-read for that deeper context.
Interesting. Then there's Ramhari Joshi, From Darkness to Light.
Like conflict situating a cherry could yellow a lot of areas.
Right. This one sounds like more direct commentary on sort of contemporary issues within the party.
Like conflicts between leaders, foreign policy, where the party should go next.
And ideological shifts, especially after the 12-point agreement with the Maoists. The article says it helps clarify some of that recent internal history. So he wasn't just looking back, he was analyzing the present too. But it wasn't all politics and history, was it? The article mentions other writing.
No, definitely not. It shows a broader literary interest. He wrote poetry, his first poem published way back in the early 1940s.
Poetry collections too. Shankar, Naya Sawera, translated a Hindi play. Even wrote science primers for kids.
Yeah, quite diverse. And one translation mentioned is particularly interesting, Bapu, sonnets.
By Lakshmi Prasad Devkota, the great poet. Joshi translated it into Hindi.
And the article quotes from Joshi's introduction to that translation. It talks about Devkota's own struggles, poverty, being targeted by the Ranas for his progressive ideas, his exile.
Paints a picture of Devkota's difficult life.
And then it includes verses that Joshi translated, powerful stuff, possibly written after Gandhi's assassination. I'm a poet, I want to write in golden letters.
Speaking letters, my voice forever that seeks heaven, gives speed, pulsates, makes brave. I want to speak God's mantra in every word. That's intense.
It is. And another one. Oh man, I wish to overcome fear and doubt. I am merely a soul that wants to come out.
So why does the article focus on this translation?
Well, it uses these verses to explore Joshi's own spiritual side. It mentions some critics apparently called him an atheist. But this translation, focusing on Devkota's spiritual expression and a parallel the source draws to Coleridge, it suggests maybe there was a deeper spiritual consciousness in Joshi himself. It's a subtle point the article makes.
That adds another layer to him, doesn't it? Beyond the politician and historian.
Definitely. And there's one more book mentioned, Symbolic Questions.
Sounds intriguing. Written fairly recently, quite short.
And the theme is, well, quite personal. Why do people marry? Why don't they?
Joshi himself's never married, right?
Right. The article suggests that in this book, through a symbolic character named Rohit, Joshi explores his own reasons.
Oh, what reasons?
It hints, and apparently it becomes clearer when you read the book, that politics played a role, but also maybe a lost love from his youth. Someone else married his first love.
Wow. So this book is where he gets most personal, even if symbolically.
It seems so. It shows him grappling with those fundamental life choices through his writing.
So his writing really spanned the historical, the political, and the deeply personal.
Absolutely. A very wide range.
Okay, let's circle back to his direct political involvement. The article stresses his practical work too, right?
Yes, his efforts on the ground, organizing the Congress Party in places like Sarlahi, Mahatari, Siraha, he was instrumental in building the party structure there.
But the article also notes a change over time, a sense that his influence perhaps decreased later on.
Yeah, it cites one analyst who suggests that after the 1990 movement, as Congress perhaps shifted, the analyst uses the term consumerism away from the politics of integrity, Joshi became less central.
Which makes his later actions maybe even more significant.
Possibly. The article points specifically to his decisions to run against Girija Prasad Koirala for the party presidency, twice, in the late 90s and early 2000s.
And the article is very clear about why he did that, isn't it?
Yes. It emphasizes it wasn't about grabbing power for himself. It wasn't personal ambition.
It was an attempt to pull the party back.
Exactly. An effort, the source argues, to guide the party back towards that politics of integrity he believed in, because he felt it was maybe losing its way.
So through thick and thin, that commitment to his principles seems to be the constant thread.
That's definitely the picture the article paints. His socialist thinking, his Gandhian integrity, that was his core, his strength, something not easily found, as the article puts it.
So pulling all this together from our deep dive into this article,
Mm-hmm.
what's the ultimate takeaway about Ramhari Joshi?
Well, he comes across as incredibly multifaceted, yes, a key political figure, a founder, but also, centrally, this man of deep integrity.
And a writer who wasn't just recording history, but shaping its narrative, offering his perspective, being critical.
Right. Documenting crucial moments with both detail and that personal touch, and using his writing to analyze his party, to push for self-reflection.
And even to explore his own life, his own choices, those deeper philosophical and spiritual questions.
It's that blend, isn't it? The history, the politics, the personal reflections, the unwavering principles, even when things got tough politically.
What's fascinating is seeing it all together, the meticulous historical accounts next to things like his reasons for not marrying, or that connection to Devcota's spirituality, or that sharp quote about how hard it is to actually do the work.
It makes him very human, alongside being this significant historical figure.
Which brings us to that final thought, prompted by the article's reflection on his 100th anniversary. It suggests the best tribute would be to follow his path, his principles. So the question for you listening is, in today's complex world, what would it actually mean to walk a path like Ramhari Joshi's? What would those principles of integrity, simplicity, and critical self-reflection demand from you now?